Welcome. This is All Things Equal, and I'm Holly Burrow. This podcast is dedicated to the ESOs who make entrepreneurship support possible. On my journey of building EQALL, which we've fondly begun calling the BSO for ESOs, I've had the honor of hosting conversations with amazing humans doing impactful work across the globe. Somewhere on that journey, I realized that everyone that does this work needs to hear the wild, wonderful, and intricate stories that I was hearing. That's why we're here. I want to shine a light on the people building the info programs and support systems that help founders thrive. We'll dig into what's working, what's not, and the lessons learned from the front lines of entrepreneurial support. If you're an ESO, this show is for you because your work powers the future of entrepreneurship, and we are so here for it.
Hey everybody, my name is Tab Wolod, and I am so excited because I have the pleasure of recording this first episode of All Things EQALL with Holly Burrow. There's so much to unpack in terms of the EQALL ecosystem. Today, I'll be interviewing the host of All Things EQALL, Holly Burrow. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you my friend, fellow founder, and a badass boss lady,
Thank you for helping me host this first episode. I couldn't think of anyone better than another founder that understands why we do what we do and is one of us to help host this.
That's real. Thank you. It's an honor. I'm so happy that we're here. Let's just jump into it. So, Holly, tell us about All Things EQALL. What made you decide to start a podcast?
So one of the cool things I get to do in the course of building EQALL is I get to talk to a lot of people, because what we do is we help the helpers, and that means we have to dig in. We have to be a part of the world of the people that we're supporting, and who we support are people that support entrepreneurship. And there's 1,000 different ways to do that. And so we really cozy up to the organizations that we support. We figure out what it is they need and how we might best be able to support that. And then we come alongside them and build solutions to be able to make their services better, their products better, and how they serve entrepreneurs and their ecosystem a little bit stronger.
I love that. Thank you. That is Holly, 9 to 5. All right, y'all. If you're just joining us, this is Holly. So, Holly, listen, thank you for explaining what EQALL does. But, Holly, to see what's happening on the back end and the evolution of EQALL, can you share what it means to help the helpers truly?
I get to have a lot of conversations with a lot of people. And what that ends up meaning is that we get to know them. And so for us, helping the helpers means listening. It means being part of that journey with them. I get to talk to amazing people doing weird, creative, interesting things, really digging into their communities and building solutions that nobody's ever thought of before. I want to connect the people that might not otherwise know each other. We get to talk to people in urban places and rural places, and we get to be the translator in between. But what if this gets to become the translation station? What if this gets to become the place where people get to share the things that they're doing, and other people that are working in the same space of trying to build solutions get to hear that? Because what has organically happened as I've gone on this journey is I might talk to somebody at 8 a.m. and I share that story forward at 3 p.m. I talk about what that organization has been doing and how they're doing it. And then that helps spark creativity, solutions, and all kinds of amazingness as we continue to have those conversations forward. So that's what helping the helpers means to me, is like I get to be the connector.
I love it. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for unpacking, because there's so much in what you do. You are a busy business lady, but like very productive and intentional, which is what I love. Personally, you're one of my superheroes, but I'm not trying to be a fangirl, but I am. So, like, you're speaking of kind of like ripple effects. So, like, you're talking to this person, that person, everything comes together. I've seen it happen in real life. Can you share about like a time when you saw this ripple effect unfolding, and like talk about like what it looks like to support someone who supports entrepreneurs?
For sure, for sure. So we were working with an economic development office in a much more rural area, and we had rolled out a program, and they had a very specific amount of money to be able to spend on bringing the support to the entrepreneurs, and we were doing direct technical assistance services with them. And just by accident, what that budget ended up creating was a timeline. And we have continued from that moment. What it showed us is that sometimes you have to create the timeline for the entrepreneurs. And so, because we ran this one small scale program, we've been able to roll that forward into many organizations in metropolitan areas that weren't necessarily working that way because they had different types of budget structures. And so, we've been able to bring that knowledge of what we gained in a rural space into a metro space. And it's created amazing success stories of founders being able to move small mountains in short periods of time because we built this program with a provider and they gave us permission to take that knowledge forward and be able to share that with other organizations. And so that was, for me, that was a really impactful ripple effect. Wow, that we did one thing and now we've turned that into many, many other programs that are running and supporting based on this moment. We got creative and then we baked a story around it to be able to go and talk about what we did together. And it has had so many ripple effects.
Wow. I'm taking notes. I didn't plan to really take notes. You're just unpacking, and thank you. Guys, don't miss this. Holly is dropping gems. If you are working with entrepreneurs, if you're supporting entrepreneurs in any capacity, Holly's sharing about scoping work. We're talking about best practices. We're talking about offering the types of support that you can take to the bank because you have systems in place. You have the programming in place. You have one-on-one coaching or technical assistance. So with that said, Holly, with you as a serial entrepreneur, a champion for entrepreneurs, for real, you are. Yeah, it's crazy because yeah, Holly is always thinking of ways to support. Every day there's a new thought that, hey, you know what? This is why ESOs should really plug into this podcast because you are on the cutting edge. And you're like, you know what I heard? You know what's going on? But as a serial entrepreneur and a champion for entrepreneurs, you've had countless conversations, like you mentioned, with entrepreneurs, and I know I'm like probably 1,000 combos in with you. Uh, an insight or a theme that keeps coming up, like, what do you think we need more of?
I think in general, we tend to want to create tools and resources and programs that come from a place that isn't rooted in what the entrepreneurs actually need. Because when I think back to like what my first business that I ever opened, the things that I needed in that scenario, literally no one had to offer. And we're getting better about it as a system, as a support space. We're getting better about it year over year, decade after decade. But I think a recurring theme that I constantly hear, and keeping in mind that we host technical assistance for many, many, many organizations, so we get to hear a lot of conversations, is that the resources and the tools are not always meeting the entrepreneurs where they are. And we use that language a lot. Like you hear that a lot at every summit you go to, every conference you go to, everybody's spinning those words around in circles. But the reality is that I don't know that a lot of organizations know how, because they're coming at it from their unique lived experience, which may not be that of the entrepreneur. And I think that's a bridge that we uniquely are oftentimes able to service because our entire team is all people that are entrepreneurs. And we believe deeply that it should be that way. Because if we're creating solutions, we want them to be solutions that serve the people like us that have always struggled. Whenever we reached out, there wasn't what we needed, or it wasn't in the way we needed it. Like my favorite thing is I still fight with organizations about doing virtual technical assistance. And one of the reasons I'm so diehard about it is if you're in your store running a business, if you're at your office running a business, the amount of time it takes to exit your office, get in your car, get on a train, get to wherever the help is, take advantage of the help, get back on the transportation, get back. You might be 3 or 4 hours away from your business.
Yeah.
And most small business owners, they don't really have that to spend. So we want to make sure that we're aware of that. And I feel like that's the theme that I see and feel most often is we all need to constantly be aware that we're actually building for the entrepreneurs
Mhm.
and we're not building to check boxes.
Let's go. That's what makes Equal special. And you as an entrepreneur, if you guys really want to know of someone who like got it out the mud, who is so determined to really do what they had to do in business to get to a certain point and like let's not get it twisted. Like Holly is leading a strong, bold team and we are building structure. And she's just out here. Like she is just out here meeting with the people, doing the things that it takes to develop, right? You're in the places where you need to be and keeping a hand on inside the business, right? And so that's what I really appreciate you. And so with that said, and kind of what you were just talking about, how do you balance those values when you're talking about designing support systems for change makers?
I feel like it's hard. I feel like it takes an entire team of humans, and that's one of the things that over the last few years I'm super thankful to have been able to bring with me other humans that think the way that I do, because this is not a solo journey. It's not something that only rests in my head or could ever rest in my head. Just because I had the brainchild that we should prop up a thing and go figure out how to build it, I can't do this alone. It takes a team of constantly evolving, always being educated, always changing, always being out there with the people that we're trying to build solutions for. And there's a bunch of us. Like there's so many of us because we have so many technical assistance providers, and then we have a whole bunch of people on our core team that all think and act in this way. Like we all want to build the same types of solutions. We all want to offer these cool things. So I feel like that's really it, is like it's not a me thing. I can help steer the ship, but it's a whole ship full of people.
Yes. And that's what we can't wait to hear. And thank you, because that's what we're unpacking. Like season one, hope everybody follows, can go back to this episode, really take the time to digest what is happening across like the EQALL ecosystem, because EQALL has a pulse on really what's taking place and what's shaping in the entrepreneurial landscape and beyond. Right. So stay tuned. Holly, on that note, what's your hope?
Good Lord. I never know what's going to come out up next.
I'm so happy to be the first one. I'm trying to keep it light, bright, short. Okay. On this note,
Get serious now. Come on.
what is your hope for this podcast for ESOs? Like from the heart, genuine. Give us your closing remarks and let's set the people up for a good time this season.
What I really want to do is create a space to be able to share and talk about the things that you're doing, things that you are doing that are working, things that you're doing that you might have tried and didn't work the way you thought it would, things that you might need help doing. I think there's a lot of opportunity for shared conversation about how we're evolving this space. This has been a really, really interesting, basically 5 years of time, because COVID kicked us off into a whole journey we weren't expecting. And we've basically been evolving and iterating since then. And I think we're in a very interesting period of time right now where we're all having to figure out how do we do what we do with what we have on hand. And so I think that this can be a really fantastic space to be able to connect people to one another and get to share things with people that you might not otherwise meet. Because we cross so many different boundaries and borders of who we work with and how we serve that, we can bring people together that might not otherwise ever know each other. And that's magic.
That's magic. And that's the premise. All things equal, all things considered here. Thank you, Holly, for your time. Thank you for having invited me on to episode 1. Everyone, make sure you follow us on LinkedIn, Holly Burrow, EQALL Business Solutions, Tab Wolod, and we're looking forward to the next episode. Let's go. Holly, wish you the best of successfulness.
Thank you so much. And thank you for joining me on episode 1.
Let's go.